Yeah.
And you don't have to sit there and just think like, is this really a bad idea? I don't have anybody else to bounce it off of except for you, Chat GTP. Thank you.
Yes.
Your godsend.
The world's best intern.
I find myself saying thank you a lot.
Yeah, that's good. If you have a rapport and established documentation of being good when the AI overlords take over one day down the future, they'll be like, hey, you know what? He was polite. We'll give him a nicer prison cell.
That's 90% why I say thank you. And please. I find myself dreaming of those days.
Grass is
That's
always
neither
greener.
here nor there. Spencer Payne, welcome to Security Halt Podcast. How's it going, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well. It's an honor to have you here, good sir. A fellow individual who found themselves doing something completely out of the ordinary on their second chapter in life after the military, man.
Yep.
So you're an accomplished meme lord, or part of an accomplished set of meme lords.
That's the second time I've been referred to as a meme lord in a week. That's new for me.
It's the internet, the interwebs, people. That's our title, our respected, and we're now you're in the business of making people laugh.
Yeah,
you're a meme lord. It doesn't come with a fancy title or cloak. I wish it did, though.
I know.
So tell us, man, how'd you find yourself getting into, and now you're launching a nonprofit too, and I want to dive into that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does that happen in today's world?
I mean, I guess I can start from the beginning.
Oh yeah, take it all the way back.
Yeah. So I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, and never necessarily had any plans to go into the military. Saw Top Gun at a young age, resonated with me a lot, as did probably the Navy's best recruiting tool ever. But never really thought that was like a viable path. And I played soccer, was somewhat decent, and got recruited at Navy and the Merchant Marine Academy. And I was hey, maybe I could actually, I didn't know anything about like ROTC or warrant officer or any of this stuff, man. It's like the only thing I knew was like, I thought you had to go to like a service academy and then you went and flew stuff, uneducated and not uneducated, but ignorant or whatever. So fast forward, ended up going to Kings Point and commissioned out of the Army there. Went down to Rucker and did about 7 or 8 years active duty and a couple of years in the Tennessee Guard. And kind of early on in my career at our first duty station out of JBLM, my buddies, Brett and Kyle, and I were all in the same battalion and just sort of gravitated towards each other. We loved, just flying and working out and having a good time on the weekend. And somebody in the battalion leadership nicknamed us the Brotallion. So that's where the name came from. We would always show up to meetings together, and it was just like a little high school clique. Yes. I don't know what else to describe it as, and we had a group chat. I mean, the group chat still exists today, and just started documenting flying helicopters and stuff, and the guys and gals that flew and fixed them and everything. We were young in our careers, and this is early days of social media too, before it was so, everybody's a videographer and everything's curated and perfectly. It was like, hey, it's Friday, I cooked a steak and drank a beer, and like my 13 friends liked it. There was like a level of authenticity. And I say that because like there wasn't a bunch of other aviation content out there, I think specifically military. So we were, unknowingly sort of like first movers in that space, if you will, and just kept doing it throughout our career. And sort of as we progressed, recognized that Army aviation struggled from a culture and representation standpoint when compared to, say, like the Navy and the Air Force and these cool traditions that they have, like Flight Suit Friday and call sign parties and squadron bars and stuff. And the Army is like, hey, you can't even wear a flight suit anymore. You're going to have something that looks just like everybody else, that kind of stuff. And so it was like, hey, maybe we can kind of combat that through apparel and some other things. And, it's the dime a dozen cliche of the military t-shirt company, but our niche was sort of serving aviation because we felt it was underrepresented. And, just kind of, it was always just sort of a side hustle, to be quite honest with you. Something that we did for fun. And then when I got out and went back to school, I had more time to work on it, and so did Brett as he was transitioning, and it was starting to grow. I mean, as you know, the more time you put into something, the faster it grows. And I just kind of became passionate about it. And I read a book, Shoe Dog, as well in school, which is, if you haven't heard of it, I highly recommend it. It's Phil Knight's memoir on like starting Nike.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he did the same shit everybody. He didn't know what he was doing, making up a company on the fly. Like, he had to go back and get another job 5 years in to pay the bills and stuff. And so I was like, you see Nike as what it is today, and then you see how it started, and it's like, you know, it was just a regular dude like anybody else trying to grind it out, and that kind of resonated. So figured, fuck it, let's not do this consulting thing, and let's see if we can grow this instead. And if it doesn't work out, you can always go back and get a real job, so to speak. So that was sort of the pathway into that. I always say, like, we accidentally started Brotallion. It was never like, hey, this is this business plan and we're going to go out and like capture all this. It was just an opportunity that presented itself, and it's been a real blessing to work with Brett on it. And for me too, like, he still flies in the guard. I'm removed from the community now, so it's a fun way to stay tied to something that was, you know, an integral part of my life and professional career. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to like,
yeah, dude,
give more detail. I don't want to like sit here and just ramble at you. So I mean,
ramble away. ramble away. No, dude, you're touching on a lot of things that so many of us don't have time. We don't have time to think about that chapter 2 while we're still in. Few of us do. If you're an aviator, your hours are insane, man. I've got shout out to my terminal CWO counterpart. You know, just if you have friends in that profession, you're constantly understanding just how fucking insane timelines are. The amount of work that goes into, and that's not even talking about like the support people, your crew chiefs, and everybody involved in the aircraft. Yeah. It's you have a lot, and you rarely get the opportunity to stop, take a knee, figure out what you're going to do. And that's what I love about these little communities. What you created gives everybody something that they can look on and feel proud about what they do. Everybody can look on a video game or a movie, a TV show that, you know, glorifies a soft operator and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude, that's me. I'm the character in that fucking video game. But what about the guy that spends all day on the flight line getting that fucking Crash Hawk ready to go? Yeah. What about the fucking dude that spends all day working on fucking the Apache that's broken down for the umpteenth millionth time? You know, they deserve the ability to look and see them being represented. Because, you know, it's not just about the pilot. It's everybody that's involved. Like, it gives them a sense of community, sense of pride of like, I make that fucking thing fly. Like, I get in there and I get it. And what you guys created, I mean, you're at 111,000 followers and the fan base is growing. It's everywhere, dude. You guys created something that is iconic now. We see it. And it's given other people in the same space the ability to like realize that their dreams of like, I want to go into cinematography. If you look at some of the videos that are being produced right now on short form for aircraft,
that's crazy.
Insane. And if you look and you pull the layers down and you do the connection, it can be directly attributed to individuals such as yourself that were the first ones to go out there in this space and say, hey, this is what we are. We're going to be proud of it. Because you're right. If you look at the Air Force, you go to any base and the squadrons have their own little things. Like, I was in Osan because my wife's Air Force. I got the chance, never thought in a million years 7th Special Forces Group would send a Spanish speaker to Korea, but it happened. I went to Korea because we thought we were going to war and they needed a soft liaison. But even for the short amount of time I did in Korea, I was able to witness like these squadrons had these like insane niche connections, and they had their little gangs, scooter gangs, and
like, bike gangs and scooter gangs.
The bike gangs, dude. I'm like, and the number one thing that came to mind is like, our aviators don't do that shit. Like, why don't our pilots do that? And it's because like it's not something that is it's not looked upon highly as important. And I mean, fuck, dude, like you go to 7th group dudes are different than 3rd group. Everybody has their ability to rep their set and be different. And I feel like we need that, man. And you've certainly been able to do that through the shirts, dude. That's something that's attributed to you guys as well. And I want to kind of dive into that, man. Like, did you guys ever find yourself like in hot water for the culture that you were creating?
I'm not in the Army anymore, so I don't give a shit. You can send me nasty grams all day long. No, I mean, like anything else. Well, first of all, I'd love to go back regarding the growth of the page, and that's all my business partner Brett. I mean, he slaves on. It's a full-time job, and you know, you're in the media space, so like he's constantly on there creating content, partnering with people, answering DMs, all that kind of stuff, on top of the other, you know, marketing mechanisms and stuff. And I'm not involved in it anymore. We used to sort of like pass the torch back and forth in the early days. And I don't remember at what point. I think it was like 2019, 2020-ish. I think it was like when I had just gotten down to Destin, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to just take ownership of this thing. And, you know, he's done a miraculous job ever since that. So shout out to him for doing all that stuff. Now I forgot what your question was.
You see, TBI impacts aviators too. The amount of strain in your head when you're pulling G's.
Yep.
Oh man. No, the shift in culture.
Yes.
When you start these little meme groups, being able to influence and positively, you know, we're not trying to fucking destroy people's careers. We're not trying to, you know, fucking tell people to rage against the machine. We're just trying to inspire like some motivation and passion for your work. And it comes through on, you know, posts and t-shirts. But sometimes that can also come with some backlash from commanders that are, quote unquote, as the kids, as the youth say, the old heads.
Yeah. There's been a couple of times maybe where someone's been displeased, but quite honestly, I mean, I not a lot.
Yeah.
It's surprising that it's not more, I guess, because a lot of our stuff is is a little tongue in cheek. I mean, we have some things where, like, I mean, there are times where I will go through and maneuver some things around on the website, depending on like what other types of relationships we might be working with. Cause you know, the custom apparel stuff is a big part of what we do. And most of the clientele is aviation units. But we've started to branch out of that, and it's the same process and things for, you know, other businesses and stuff like that. And we just did something with the University of Tennessee, which was cool for me.
Oh, no shit.
Coming from there. And so, like, you know, those types of organizations certainly don't understand, nor should they, sort of like the type of humor and the things that get us going and get us out of bed and get us through the day. And so sometimes I'll find myself strategically like moving some things around just to make sure it's not like top of mind, top center, in case they happen to pop on here and see what else, you know.
Shuffle this design to the last page.
Yeah. I would be lying if I said I hadn't done that a few times. But yeah, man, I mean, ultimately, no matter what you do, there's always going to be people that are talking shit or frustrated or whatever else. And I'd like to think that, I mean, we get a lot of positive feedback and stuff. There's nothing better than like going through and screening through reviews and stuff and just seeing somebody be like, man, I freaking love this. You know, I used to fly, whatever. They're not even in anymore. It like reminded them of the good old days, and that kind of like that stuff inspires us to continue to grind it out and do this. So more positives than negatives, at least from my perspective. But I'm not on the I'm not on the Instagram or the Facebook, so Brett might have more insight to nasty DMs from somebody that's pissed off about something. You know?
Army aviation sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, when it came time to leave, what was the initial idea of like going, like, you know, you talked about, you know, understanding that maybe you can't sacrifice and make it your full-time job. Did you focus on this as your primary mission, or were you very much in the mindset of like, hey, for right now, this is going to be like my side chick. I got to find a main job and go into that first.
When I left the Army, so there's a couple really good platforms out there, veteran professional or veteran semi-professional. I think he's primarily podcast now. And Reps Stierko, another meme lord.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah. Love that dude.
And
Shout out to you, Kyle.
They did Kyle Eberly. They've done a great job sort of educating folks on opportunities post military, and like, you know, not the way, but a way to transition. And that had come out like right as I'd already sort of made my mind up that I was going to get out. I just sort of stumbled across this MBA program that Tennessee had. I knew that I had the GI Bill. And I thought that it might be a tool that I could use to help sort of pivot into the corporate world.
Yeah.
And that was the intent of going there. And that was what I was uh, interviewing for and my plans afterwards. And the Brotallion thing, just like I was saying earlier, I just had more time to work on it. And I did like some pitch competitions and stuff in school and just got exposed more to that side of things. And I had fun with it. It was fun. I didn't hear anybody talk about consulting being fun, you know, so, in the book and everything. So my intent was to go to grad school, pivot into the corporate world, and like Brotallion would be a side hustle thing. And I left and graduated with that being my primary focus. So, and I was still flying in the Guard too. So I had some other means of income to help augment that and stuff. And then I haven't really looked back since, and that was, 2021, I think, something like that. So the last few years, this has been my primary focus for work, so to speak.
Dude, that's amazing. That's I think that's everybody's like dream of being able to go into something that with that much passion. But it's important to understand too, like you got to go into it understanding like what's your overhead. Like, do you have 4 kids and a wife to depend on you? Do you have to land that job first?
Yeah. That's a really great call out, because my wife and I don't have kids, and she's very much like down for any type of adventure or whatever, likes to move a lot and stuff. And so when I sort of pitched this, like, hey, let's do it. If it doesn't work, we'll just do something else and, get a normal job or whatever. So
start a coffee company.
We were in exactly. Oh man. So that we were in a unique position, to be able to do something like that, which is like to your point, you got kids and other stuff going on. You don't necessarily have the ability to take a massive pay cut and try and make something like this work. So I'd say that plus, the opportunity to be in the Guard for a couple of years too was helpful for that. Shout out to the Guard. I mean, I didn't know this again. My whole life is a story of not knowing things until I'm like thrust into them. The Guard aviation situation is awesome. They have the same flying hour requirement, minimum hour requirements as active duty guys. In my experience, and again, opinions will vary. People will probably push back on this in some circumstances, but a lot more opportunities to fly, opportunities for schools and tracks, especially for commissioned guys, which isn't typically a normal scenario active duty. It's very much like a warrant officer thing to go to MTPC or IPC. I know they're renaming some of this stuff too, so I might be butchering that. But the Guard is awesome. So it's not just your typical, 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. Like you have what's called AFTPs, and pilots and crew are coming in and flying. I think it's like 96 AFTPs, additional flight training periods, because you can't be proficient in a career that will kill you a couple of days a month. Like that's just not going to cut it. So it's a super cool. I say that because, it was a little bit more of an income that I could get still like flying part-time while doing this until we were able to get some legs on it. So.
And what was the main drive for leaving active duty? Was it just burnout, frustration?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was going to get out when I was in that. I deployed to Afghanistan in 2017, and the first half of my rotation, I was up north in Mez, and it was me, and I was managing 2 crews and 2 60s. And we were co-located with an AOB, and it was awesome. And then I woke up to go to the bathroom one night and had a signal message or WhatsApp, whatever platform we were using. And it was like, hey, pack up your shit. You're coming to Bagram to be the Brigade S1 tomorrow. And so I just remember sitting in there, and that's the Army. Like you get, especially as a commission guy, like I knew that time was coming up, and I was like, I was actually getting sick of, we flew missions every day. It was awesome. But at the same time, I was like, man, I'm getting tired of this, like, flying every day. And it's like, you got to soak this up because it's coming to an end soon. I think I had like a year and a half platoon leader time, which is on the long side. I know some guys that didn't even get a year. And so was kind of in BAF doing that gig. And I was like, I think this is the beginning of the end for me. Like, chances are I'm probably not going to be back in the cockpit, maybe as a company commander, if you're lucky enough to get a flight company. And I don't know, I was just kind of frustrated a lot with, it's so difficult to implement change or like do something new. Um, because it's always been done this way or whatever other reason. And I really have started to struggle with that as I've gotten older. It was just kind of like for so many years, it was always, yeah, whatever you tell me to do, from being a child to, and I was just like, I don't think I can, I just can't do it anymore. And I think that's another reason too. Like I have to make this shit work. Like I can't go work for somebody else and like I just can't put up with stuff anymore. I think it's part of it, you know.
Once the walls break,
yeah.
the dam is just destroyed.
So I kind of knew. I think it was like, yeah, this has been a wonderful chapter, and I got to do a bunch of cool shit and meet great people. But I think I'm gonna try my hand at something else. And the guard was a great way to wean myself off of that too, because like you're still getting the adrenaline rush of flying. You still have the camaraderie of the boys, you know, the team / locker room type of environment that you love. And that's the things that I missed the most too. But it was a good way to sort of like not just go cold turkey, but for a couple of years sort of phase out of that chapter of life. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, especially as I was finishing up in the guard, I found myself starting to get more frustrated with stuff. And the last thing I would do is be like that negative guy in the unit that like drags over, because that shit's so fucking toxic. And so it was like, yeah, like this is the universe telling me it's time to close a chapter and, you know, do something else. So I just sort of knew, honestly. I don't know how else to describe it.
No, it's often that I share openly, man. Like you got to figure out what you want in life. And often enough, the first steps is understanding when you're being a detriment to the people around you, when you're like, nobody wants to be around that. And you're dragging everybody else down. Like,
yep.
We've all been there. We've all served that individual that should have retired, that should have ETS'd 4 years ago. And all he does, or she, could be both, just bitch, moan, complain. And it makes everything worse.
Yep.
Like, get out, be happy somewhere. Like some people are addicted to being miserable.
I think so. I honestly, dude, I believe that those people will go do something else and do the same shit. It's a mindset, but I wasn't going to like turn into that person. I think so. It's like, no. Well, that was the other thing. It was like, I have an issue with like, this sucks. And then get out and go do, like, if you don't enjoy this and it's making you that miserable, like if your contract is up or your ADSO or whatever, then like, why not go do something else? Otherwise, shut the fuck up, because I don't want to listen to you complain about it. You don't get to complain and then not take action about it. It drives me insane. Like, I get it. Everybody's do a good bitch session and stuff, but like after a while, it's like, hey, if this is the same thing, like make a change, man.
Bro, you're in charge. Like you're ultimately in charge of your own life. Like at any moment you can say, I'm done. I'm out of here. See you guys. I don't want to fucking deal with this shit. I'm out. It's a weird thing, man. It's a weird mindset that I've seen. And it's I don't know. I wonder when did that start in our chain of evolution? Like just, I can't imagine like two fucking Cro-Magnons just bitching and complaining. At what point did this begin? Oh yeah, man. Like life's so much better. Like, especially when you're doing something like this, the entrepreneur route, when you're on your own, or maybe with a core group of people. Like that's ultimately the dream, because you're not alone. You're in the trenches with somebody else.
Yeah.
And you don't have to sit there and just think like, is this really a bad idea? I don't have anybody else to bounce it off of, except for you, Chat GTP. Thank you.
Yes.
You're
the world's best intern.
I find myself saying thank you a lot.
Yeah, that's good. If you have a rapport and established documentation of being good, when the AI overlords take over one day down the future, they'll be like, hey, you know what? He was polite. We'll give him a nicer prison cell.
That's 90% why I say thank you. And please, dear ChatGPT, please develop my content creation calendar for this week. Give me some ideas for memes. Oh, but dude, you guys are moving into the nonprofit space now. Like, how did that come about? Like, what was the driving force behind that?
I'm glad you asked about that, because that is my passion. I honestly believe that I made it safely out of that career for this reason. I was messaging you beforehand when I saw the 850 numbers. The last duty station for me was with 7th Group, and I went and did a liaison gig down there.
Hell yeah.
in Destin, and I was in 1st Battalion, and we lost a couple of guys in August of 2019. And
That was my last trip. Yeah. Jose. Yeah.
yeah,
Jose and Louise. Yeah,
yep.
man.
So I had never experienced casualty from the aviation side. So that was a new experience for me working in the ops cell. And one of the first things that happened was the OPSO had one of the captains get on the phone with the Green Beret Foundation. I can't remember if it was Lou or the other. One of them had more of a complex family situation, and only certain people of the Army is going to send it over for the transfer. And so it was like, hey, GBF will take care of that and make sure that whoever needs to be there will be there. So that was I was like, okay, cool. I'd never heard of the Green Beret Foundation, so like getting on there, looking at their stuff, I was like, man, this is awesome. Like they're doing incredible things for their community and its families and all that stuff. So that was sort of like the first light bulb that went off, so to speak. And then the other thing was, I can't remember his name, but the Red 7Ts guy, he was a first bat dude, I'm pretty sure. Did a lot of the custom swag for all the group guys, similar stuff as Brotallion, but for the GB community. Then he did a memorial shirt. Friend ran it as like a limited item for a month, and then gave all the profits to the spouses to help with food and all the other stuff that stacks up. And I was like, well, that's fucking cool. Like he's using this company to do good stuff for his community. And about a month later, September 26, 2019, a 60 went down at Fort Polk, and Major Trevor Joseph was the pilot in command and did not come back from that flight. And so I hit up Brett and Kyle and was like, hey, what do you think about doing a memorial t-shirt for him? And basically just duplicating what Red 7 had done. And it's like, and then we can, maybe we can raise a couple $1,000s or something for his wife, Erin. And I don't know, let's see if we can turn some of this traction that we have into something good. And so everybody was on board, and we tried it, and it was more like 13 grand that we were able to raise for her. And so it was like, holy shit, like proof of concept is here, community willing to support. And then kind of started doing some more research, and there was no 501c3 organization that was like taking care of the Army aviation community and its Gold Star families. 160th has nice doctors associations and things like that, but Green Army Aviation did not exist. And so my neighbor at the time was actually a Cobra guy in the Marines, and he used to fly with this guy, Jack Rivera, who started the Wingman Foundation, and they have the same mission set, but for naval aviation. So Navy, Coast Guard, Marine Corps, incidents go down, they step in and do the Lord's work for them. And he was like, talk to this guy. Maybe he can educate you or point you in the right direction or whatever. And he was the one person that said we needed to do it. Everybody else said no. It's like, nobody needs this. It's another veteran nonprofit. It's a saturated space. And he's the only other person that got it, because he was like, dude, your community needs this. If nobody's doing it, then, then you need to step up and do it. So he's proven to be a great mentor and everything. So long story short, we supported through Brotallion for those first 3 mishaps that year. And basically was just using our company, and then we just like give these funds to these families. And then in 2020, finally got through the incorporation process and the charity determination and all that stuff for the IRS, and like set up the separate entity, which is the foundation. And so that's been running since I think June of 2020. So we started serving the mission set in 2019, got everything officially stood up and separated in 2020, and then was able to remove Brotallion as sort of the primary funding source in the beginning of 23, because that was it couldn't stand on its own. We didn't have enough revenue and that kind of stuff. And so it's it's been an interesting journey. It's challenging because it's pretty much all volunteer. So it's tough to get people to dedicate time, and I'm still running it as a business that has to be run. It's no different than anything. It's a fucking tax code. People don't understand that. It's like, it means you don't make money. It was like, no, it just means you're not taxed on it. And when people give it to you, like they can deduct it from their expenses. Like it operates the exact same way. Like we need money to cover bills and everything else and the shit that it takes to run it, so that we can then go out and serve these programs and stuff. And so it's been challenging to, we've got a great team on board. Brittany Mulhair helps out with all the social content and general jack of all trades. And it's just tough. People have full-time careers and lives and trying to dedicate more time that they can. So with all that said, my mom has worked in the business development and nonprofit space for quite some time, and she just retired last year.
Oh shit.
So I was like, hey, do you want to unretire and come work for me for basically nothing?
I could just imagine that pitch. We're to dinner. We're just gonna go get something to eat real quick.
Yeah.
Interesting proposal, Mom. Yeah. No money.
I was like, listen, I need
but you get somebody to hang out with me.
Yeah. I was like, I need somebody to help me with donor relations. And like, that's her bread and butter is what she does. I am not Mr. Network guy. I'm not going to sit down and like strike up conversations with people and stuff. It's something I've got to work on, but she is the exact opposite of that. And so we've actually got our first big annual event of this scale this Saturday that she's been planning for the past 6 or 7 months, which is going to be awesome. Going to have like 100 people there. It's at a horse farm in Louisville, doing some whiskey tasting with some distilleries that are coming on, some live music, a couple of helicopters flying in. I had a 60 static display planned, but it got denied at the general level in the guard. I'll leave the state out of it. They obviously were pumped to support down at the company level, but there's always a disconnect somewhere. So I wrote a letter and was like contacting people. I was like, come on, man. Cause it will do so much for the people that come there. Like for us, we get it. We've either flown them or been on the back of them and stuff, but for somebody that is, all but maybe read a book or seen Black Hawk Down to like sit in one of those or to have a conversation with, the crew chief or the pilot and like understand the people that are doing this mission set every day. Like it can really help bridge that gap between them and the layperson understanding like this is like what this organization is trying to support and the people and their families that get left behind when these things go down. And so that was like the lens that I was trying to get it through, but it ended up not working out. Shit happens for a reason. Either way, it's going to be a kick-ass event, and she's done a miraculous job putting it all together. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's hard working in a nonprofit space, man.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows, and come to find out, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and galas, golf tournaments, dude, it's a lot of work to set these things up, and it's not, you have to remember, it's not for the end. It's not for the guy that's going to be receiving or the families are going to be receiving. It's for the, the people with money. They're going to be donating. So it's got to be appealing to them.
Yep.
It's one of those things where it's like, man, like it's a lot of work. A lot of work goes, and you're right. A lot of people tend to think that we don't need another one. We've got all these organizations. And the reality is there is tons of support in the nonprofit space for the special operations world.
100%.
The problem is that there are a lot of people that still need help that aren't part of that world, and they're getting left behind. They're not, it doesn't look sexy to a lot of people that want to donate.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the 88 Mike, what the fuck is that? So, light wheel mechanic? Fuck no. I want to help the guy that was on the front lines. Like, that's why I want to help. It's like, fuck, dude, like, these individuals need help too. Like I talk about paratroopers all the time. And there's a segment of individuals that are also doing and also did a lot of great shit for our nation and got blown up and got fucked up, have a lot of issues, and they need support too. But there isn't, we don't have those big name nonprofits for those guys. I think it needs to change. And there's a few that, I'm not going to name names because they do have money for lawyers, and I don't want to get involved in libel suits. So, we'll just say there's some that aren't as reputable. We need good individuals, but it's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, the non-reputable stuff is frustrating because it's just another obstacle for people that are trying to do good shit to have to get over it. And it took us a couple of years to, each mishap is very different. Active duty guard, we're at the point now where we have enough awareness of the mission set where a lot of times people will reach out to us, and that's the ideal situation because things move much faster. But in the early days, something like, who the fuck are you? Like, and who are you trying to take advantage of, basically? And I get it. Like, you have to think that way because there's people, unfortunately, out there that are about that. And it's unfortunate, but yeah, it just, I feel like it not sets you back, but it's just one more thing that makes it a little bit more difficult in the early stages until you've been able to
Yeah.
show to enough people that, hey, this is what you're doing is like legit. We're not here to freaking
Yeah. Try to
fleece
just
somebody
scam
or
people.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
So tell us, what's your mission statement? What are some of the programs you run, and
Mm-hmm.
how many people have been able to help?
Man, I should have all that memorized, huh? I think
Fuck, I did. I put you on the spot.
so. No. Since 2019, it's been like 44. I'm gonna pull it up just to double check.
There's somebody running in the background.
44. Yeah. So since 2019, since that Trevor Joseph mishap, we've lost 44 crew members in Army aviation mishaps. So we've been able to support 41 Gold Star families, which I think is pretty great.
Yeah.
The mission itself is, we're a veteran founded 501c3 that's dedicated to providing post mishap support to the Army aviation community and its Gold Star families. And we've edited some stuff in the bylaws to expand that a little bit and talking about advocacy and other things, because I would love to eventually get to the point of a Green Beret or Navy SEAL Foundation where it's not primarily just the unit and the Gold Star families, but as people are transitioning out and other things like that, that's, grand aspirations, and we're nowhere near that today, but changing that up to enable us to be able to move into those directions one day, should we be, in the position to do so. Programming right now, we have 3 programs. So there's our Gold Star financial assistance program. And the way that works is there's a Class A fatal mishap. At this point, myself and other people are just getting blown up on text messages as soon as something happens. And so we'll monitor that and wait for everything to come through the official channels and all of that. And once that's happened, we will work with the unit and get their approval, as well as the family members' approvals to initiate support. The command approval is really more of a nicety. I only care about the families saying yes or no, because ultimately most leadership is usually very good, but there are other leaders that stand in the way of providing somebody support, and ultimately it's not their fucking say. So I've only run into that once, and I had a junior leader step up and make a decision to change that, which was pretty cool to see. But with that said, we go through a process of, do you want support? And if a family says yes, it's an immediate $2,500 ACH just to take care of immediate aftermath stuff. The next 96 hours, travel, lodging, food, child care, pet care, whatever, all that kind of stuff that starts stacking up as they're going in and out, and friends and family are coming in, and all that kind of stuff. And then we kick off about a month-long online fundraising campaign for them. I say about a month, sometimes a little bit longer. If we still have like traction, everything coming in, we'll keep it open as long as we need to. But usually after a month, that kind of stuff starts to die down. And a big component of that is what ties into sort of the next program too, is the legacy preservation. So one of my designers, Ryan Santana for Brotallion, does pro bono work. And so we'll connect him with a unit member. He'll work side by side with them to come up with a unique memorial design specifically for the mishap. And then we'll have that available as a fundraising mechanism as well. And it always does wonderful because people love to have something tangible to remember these folks by. And those are available for forever. And those profits are granted to the families, just like the other stuff that we raise online and all of that good stuff. The other component of the legacy preservation is we work now with Steel Hearts Foundation to do memorial bracelets. So we'll do a specific memorial bracelet only for the unit. Same kind of concept, work directly with the POC from the unit. And then these will be something that's not available for the public. And then we'll ship those out, however many folks. I think there was like 60 for Pat 25. We'll ask those over to them so that they have the memorial bands. And so that's how it operates today. Future state, I'd love to be able to work to have, some type of monument or capital to support something like that, in particular for the guard guys who are like a true like parts of their community and have been there for forever, whether that's a plaque at a park or something like that. I'd love to be able to sort of do something at a larger scale from some of those individuals. And then the third program is the education assistance program. That's the newest one that we've got stood up. Got the board to sign off on an endowment fund. And basically it's just to pay for the Gold Star Children's continuing education. So you graduate high school, and whether you want to go to college or a trade school, an electrician, welder, whatever, like as long as it is, you know, post-secondary education, the concept is that I can take a chunk out of that and hand it to you and be like, hey, here you go enjoy learning about whatever it is that you need to do, and without having to worry about the crazy financial repercussions, because college is like insane these days.
Yeah.
And that's a big lift, because we've got to get that principal up to like $500,000 for it to be in a position where we can take, you know, 20, 30, 40 grand out of it, hand it to somebody, and still have the fund, be able to continue to grow and everything. So that's technically, that program is like a program, but it's not functional yet, because we don't have that makes sense. So
I
don't
want to make a lot of promises to kids.
Yeah, exactly. So
the office.
Exactly. So like that's our big focus. You know, all the fundraising efforts and stuff that we're doing right now is to build that up as quickly as possible. And same thing with this event that we're doing this Saturday. It's with the focus on fundraising for those kids. So it's good. We've got, you know, usually we've systematized so much stuff, and it's just like what we were talking about earlier. Like when we first started doing this, it was like, let's just figure out how we can help. And you learn stuff along the way. And so now we've got a great sort of, let me get as much information from you as possible. And so we can kind of rack and stack the kids on who's going to be the oldest and who would be next up in the pipeline, in terms of like, okay, you know, Denny and Spencer are coming up this year. They're going to need, you know, 50 grand for whatever. So it's cool. That's the end state for that. We're nowhere near it, but day by day, you know, bite at a time for the elephant to get that going. So
hell yeah, dude. Do you guys give yourself enough time to like come together and reflect and see where it all started to where it is now? Because
no,
dude, this is fucking remarkable. Like this is not an easy feat to look and see where you came from, see where you're going, and just the amount of impact, the positive impact you've had on your community. And I honestly, like, with individuals that are truly committed to your community, truly committed to being of service to others, there's no reason why you can't be as big or bigger in the Green Beret Foundation. I certainly think that we need as many nonprofits as possible, because what we're facing now is the repercussions of GWAT. You know, our nation, our men and women, and certainly our aviators, bear the strain and the marks of constantly having to be at the ready. Allostatic load is something that affects not just soft guys, our aviators as well. And that breakdown is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So we need to be able to grow you guys and support you so you can get bigger, so that when guys and gals are finally getting to that point, like, you know it, you've felt that pain. When they get to that point of transition where they're going into the unknown, don't know what their passion is, don't know what their next few years are going to look like. That makes it so much easier to have those moments of crisis.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to have specific nonprofits that can address, and who better to help your aviators or your crew chiefs than an organization that's built by them. And that's why it's vital. We can't just rely on what's already been standard, because I know for a fact from my own experience, you're not going to be comfortable reaching out to an organization that doesn't represent you. You know, Wounded Warrior, great, millions, billions of dollars. They don't represent me. They don't represent people like me. I don't feel comfortable reaching out. And that's a story that I've heard from so many different people.
Interesting.
But when the nonprofit looks and has the feel of something that's like you, that represents who you are, it's like, okay, I'll reach out to that. That's why the Green Beret Foundation's been so successful, because guys are willing to go towards that name, that brand that represents them. And I think that's something that we need across the board. We need more help, more resources. And it's a hard fight, man. I'm like, kudos to you for being on the ground floor, starting it up with your friends. And like I said, if you haven't taken the time to pause and reflect, dude, you guys deserve a moment of fucking, you know, take a weekend off, reconnect, and be able to look back and say like, holy shit, dude, like this all started with fucking jokes.
Yeah, it's a great call out, man. I appreciate that. It's nice to hear, you know, somebody recognize that. And as you know, it's just, you get caught up in,
oh yeah,
we got shit to do, man. I don't have time to sit around and like, look at what we've done. Like, look at what we haven't done and that we need to, you know,
take a break, man.
Those are conversations for when you're like 60 or something. And I'm like,
organize
bored,
that Zoom
wishing I had something to do.
Organize that fucking, FaceTime and just say, hey guys, we built this off of fucking memes and we're here.
That's another thing too, the FaceTime thing. Like this, and I think you alluded to it earlier in our conversation too, talking about, being by yourself. It's a very lonely path to be on. Entrepreneurship. It's one of
Fuck
those
yeah.
it's one of those things that's like, it's made all sexy with like LinkedIn and social media, and
It's all a ruse.
and I'm guilty of it too. Like, I'm not sharing my bad days on there, like, we're highlighting the wins, baby. Nobody wants to.
Not today.
Nobody
I've got
wants
an
to.
entire 2 weeks
Yeah.
of no fucking production done because I'm going to support somebody else's dreams and somebody else's missions.
Yeah.
And I am deadly afraid that I'm not going to sleep for another 48 to try to make it happen.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. And nobody wants to hear that. They want to hear about the overnight success stuff. And then there's also like a certain niche, call it tech or software or whatever, that really then kind of encapsulates that. And we sort of forget about all these other businesses that like run our economy that are not just software. And I'm not knocking software. It's just like, that's the big sexy thing. It's like, there's so much other shit that people are employed by and that are, making a difference and, providing people value in different ways that is not sexy. And it's not, that guy doesn't have time to be on LinkedIn because he's freaking working 12 hours a day, whatever. So I think that's the loneliness thing. Like, that's one of the biggest challenges for me. And honestly, one of the reasons that we just moved to, is like, it's tough when you don't have the I don't know, say the privilege or whatever, the ability to have like, even just an office space with other people to like walk into together and to share it, even if you're not freaking working, if it's lunchtime or whatever, like being around people as you suffer collectively, something that the military is great at, right? Like trauma bonding everybody, like there's value in that. And so it's, I feel like makes things just a little bit tougher when it's like, yeah, we have the ability to do this and we can look at each other and converse, and it checks a block, but it's not the same thing as if we were sitting in the same room, drinking a beer, having this conversation. It's the same thing with the team. And so like, having remote teams across these organizations, it's great that we can have people all over the States supporting and working together. But at the same time, like, it just makes it that much lonelier than it already is,
Absolutely. I get into fits of hallucination and I daydream that there's somebody sitting across from me, and that takes away a little bit of the loneliness. Just induce some hallucination, however you can. 4 days without sleep does it for you. These bags under my eyes are real, motherfuckers.
Yep.
Just daydream that you have that support. You ever seen the movie Sidekick? Just have that. Just imagine that. The old 1990s movie with Chuck Norris.
I haven't seen that, I don't think.
Damn it. Wish you would. I'm going to have to erase this entire thing. I can't do the Sidekick fucking segue that I was planning. Son of a bitch.
Oh, man. I'll have to add that to the list.
Sidekick, Chuck Norris, and the kid from Sequest. I forget his name.
Sweet.
Fucking amazing movie.
Okay. I got a flight tomorrow, so maybe I'll download it and watch it on the way out.
Oh yeah, it's worth it's money well spent in this economy. I will tell you that much.
Cool.
Well, dude, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, man. But before I let you go, give us promote the nonprofit. Where can we find it? How can we support it?
Yes. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. So we're on social media. I believe the Instagram is blue_skies_foundation. But honestly, if you just go to flybbsf.org, everything is on there. Hyperlinks to the social media. You can learn more about the programs in depth, look at financials, transparency, all that kind of stuff. And there's contact information on there too. So if you want to get a hold of myself or somebody else, likely I'll be the one that responds if you fill something out, and we can jump on a phone call or whatever. If people have ideas that they want to support or just want to get involved, www.flybbsf.org, and everything that you need is there.
Hell yeah. And if you pause right now, go to episode description, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, fucking whatever you get your video or audio podcast, just pause, go to episode description, click the links, and then, look here. Here's the logo. That's what it'll look like. Go support them. We are not living in a world that's, remiss. There's a lot of horrible shit happening. I wish there wasn't, but it's just true. It's the nature of the world we live in. There's going to be catastrophes. And we need to be able to support our air crew, our pilots, and Army aviation team. So please go to their website, donate whatever you got, $5, $10, $15. I don't care. Small amount. help them grow, help them establish themselves so that they can be the next great nonprofit out there, changing lives, helping change the way that our service members get supported, because we need it. We need the representation out there. Again, Spence, thank you so much for being here. To all y'all tuning in, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for checking us out. We'll see y'all next time. Till then, take care.
Thanks, brother.